replayed something you said over and over in your head? This one, I do this all the time, so this is hysterical to me. It's not though, it's horrible. If you've ever replayed something you said over and over in your head, then you know what I'm talking about. Maybe you walked away from a conversation and immediately started wondering how you came across. This is for you. So I'm Lisa Tarves, and I'm sitting in my, this is my 5th podcast, my 2nd video podcast. Hopefully I do better than the last time, because the last time I didn't really know what I was doing, but I don't know that I know it anymore actually right now than I did then, but we'll see. We're gonna work on it here. See how I do. All right, so anyway, so this is my podcast, which is called Real Talk for the Overthinking Mind. And this topic that I go on about is basically about overthinking everything. And if that's something you do, then you're probably having anxiety, maybe some depression, and who knows what else, but it can cause a lot of stuff. But anyway, I'm Lisa Tarves, and I help people make sense out of what they're feeling so they can actually feel better. Imagine that, feeling better. So today I want to talk about something a lot of people deal with. Really, I mean, in my practice, not just myself, but in my practice, I see this all the time. And people that have it going on don't always love talking about it or saying it out loud, or even admitting it to themselves a lot of times. But it's about actually overthinking. I hate to put it that simply because that's what the podcast is called, but it's really why you overthink and why you care and think about what other people think of you, because it doesn't always feel logical to do that. I mean, I don't think it feels logical at all when I do it. You might know on some level it's probably fine, they're not thinking that much about what I did or what I said or how I behaved or whatever. But your mind keeps going on and on about it regardless, right? Like, this is something that is just like one of the things that keep you up at night, that you can't stop thinking about, like, every bit of a conversation. And, well, I wonder how that came across, or I wonder what people thought when I said this or that. And it just makes you crazy sometimes, right? It can be really frustrating. So you might lay in bed, or you might just like walk away from the situation and be like, I gotta replay that in my head, and the conversation starts replaying. And then you think about how it sounded, and you wonder if you said too much. I'm guilty of that, over-talking. I overthink and over-talk. That's why I have a podcast, I guess. But you wonder if you said too much, or maybe you didn't say enough. And even the smallest interactions, right? The little interactions that you have can stay with you a lot longer than you'd like them to. So let's talk about why that happens. I think that's an important thing about this whole situation. It isn't what you would think. It isn't about being insecure. That's not what's causing this at all. It's not being insecure in the way people think of you, like, every day. Like, it's not about insecurity. It's about awareness and protection. And those are two big things, right? Your brain is trying to answer one question. Am I okay in this situation that I'm in right now, or that I was in at the moment? But that's what your brain is always thinking, because your brain is that's just part of how your brain works. So the part of that is like some of the reasons we do that is because we're afraid that we're not going to be accepted. You worry if you said something wrong. You wonder, did I make this an uncomfortable conversation somehow? Did I handle everything the right way? These are all very common things. So your mind goes back, your brain goes back, and it checks, and then it rechecks, and then it rechecks again, and it can go on for quite some time. So it's not because you're doing something wrong. I don't want anybody to think that. It's not you're not doing anything wrong. It's just your brain's way of trying to make sure you're safe in social situations. Right? Your brain's just double checking. Because connection matters. Being understood matters. Feeling accepted matters. All of these things matter. And when something feels slightly off, just something is just a little bit off, even if it's just like a subtle thing, your system is going to notice it. And then your mind begins to try and figure it out. And the problem with that is that there's no clear answer. It's not a yes or no question, like whatever. It's something that your brain is just naturally doing. So instead of resolving it, you stay in this loop, right? This loop in your brain. You go back over the same moment again and again and again, trying to land somewhere that finally feels settled. Trying to accept a version of that conversation or that situation that makes you feel most settled. But it never really fully will feels completely settled. It's trying to get certainty from something that isn't fully in your control. Like you can't control what someone else is thinking. You can't control what they think of you. That's the part of your brain. That's the part that your brain doesn't like. It doesn't like that it doesn't have control. So it keeps analyzing, hoping it can find something solid to hang on to. Something that's definite, something that tells you you're okay. Right? So that's what your brain's doing. So we're talking about your brain and your mind, which are the same but different, because one is an organ and one is more of a concept, a thing, a result of the brain existing. So it's always wanting to make sure you're okay. And that's what it does. But here's the shift. You don't need to analyze your way into feeling okay. It's not going to do you any good anyway. So you need to start giving yourself that sense of okayness without needing an answer first. Okay, so I know that sounds very hard, and the whole thing is very complicated because you think your brain and your mind are the same thing, and they are, but they're different too. Like, there are two parts of the mind is because of the brain. I see it as two separate things, but both doing different things, but it all runs through the brain. It all runs through the system of the brain, and that controls everything. So it feels hard. It feels hard to reach that point, but because it feels like you need confirmation, right? You need to know you didn't mess something up with when you were having that conversation with someone or whatever. It needs to know that you're okay. But the more you rely on that, the more your brain keeps going back, right? So your mind keeps going back, and it's frustrating. It can be hard. You're really not overthinking what people think of you because you're self-centered. I mean, that's not what's going on at all. So don't think that about yourself. You're not self-centered. You're overthinking because your brain is trying to protect your connection. It's trying to make sure you belong. And that's a very human thing. It's a very human thing. And it does become exhausting when you don't know how to stop this loop, right? This loop of replaying this in your mind. Like, you're just like, stop already. It happened. I can't unring that bell, right? I say that all the time. I can't go back and fix it now. It already happened. So it's trying to protect you, and so it keeps replaying it, and that's the loop. So we want to change things up a little bit. So when we're stuck in that loop, and instead of asking yourself, because this is what it really is about, instead of asking, what did they think of me? Try shifting it to thinking about, do I feel okay with the way I showed up, right? Do I feel okay with what I said? Not what they think. Do I feel okay with it? And that brings the focus back onto you. Not in a critical way, but in a very grounding way. So, because you can never really answer the question of what did they think of me, it doesn't work that way. So the putting it in a more grounded way, by putting the focus back on yourself and asking yourself, am I okay with what I did and said? Am I okay with the way I showed up, the way I was present? Am I okay with it? So that's the shift, right? Turning it around and stopping it by saying, all right, I'm not going to replay this conversation that I already had, that I can't change over and over again. I'm just going to think about it and be, I'm actually okay with how I was there and what the things I said, and I was honest, and I was being protective of people or of myself, or of whatever the conversation was about. It's okay to practice this shift of the conversation. So the conversation in your mind, instead of the loop has to stop, right? So we're going to change the conversation in our minds to focus on our question about ourselves. Do I feel okay with what I said? And that's the only thing that matters. And the more you practice that, right, the more you do that, the less power those loops will have, right? The power that it has, it'll disappear. Things might still come up. I mean, hello, we're talking about our brains again, but they won't take over in the same way anymore. And that's important. You don't need to replay everything to be okay. You don't need to get it perfect to be accepted. That's huge. You don't need to have all the answers to let something go, to just let it go. You're allowed to move forward. I've said this a lot on the last few episodes of this podcast, but it's really something very important that I feel like people need to understand a little more, is that it's okay to move forward. That's allowed. You don't have to stay stuck in the past. You don't have to stay in a situation when you're trying to resolve every issue, you can just move forward. That's where peace comes in. That's where the peace starts, right? That's where peace starts to come back in to our lives. So really very important stuff. Important to know you can let things go. As I've said in other podcasts, and I've said to all the clients probably that I've had so far, I have a quote that I can't quote because I don't remember the exact quote, but I kind of rephrased it on my own. This is like, I think it was a Buddhist post or a Buddhist quote from like a long time ago, like thousands of years ago from, or that's what they say. I found it one time, or I heard it one time, and I was just like, wow, does that just kind of explain what the truth is about our mental health and our emotions? But basically, it's a quote that says, if you live in the past, you will be depressed. You will have depression. You will feel depressed. If you live in the future, you will feel anxious. You will have anxiety. You will feel anxious because you're thinking about the past already over. You can't change it. You can't fix it. You can't undo it. It's over. It's done. Period. End of it. It's over. The future, who knows what the future holds? None of us know. None of us know minute to minute, let alone day to day or year to year or anything. We don't, or decade to decade, we don't know. But the one true way to find happiness, the one way you will always be happy, is if you live in the present moment. Live in the moment that you're in fully, knowing that you can't fix the past, you can't undo it. You can't fix what hasn't happened yet. You can't control what hasn't happened yet. But if you live presently as fully as you can, you will be happy. You will find happiness. I think Buddha might have called that enlightenment. And I don't believe there's a more truer thing. And especially if you've ever been depressed or if you've ever been anxious, which I don't know that anybody in the world has never felt one of those things, but if not both. And I know I've felt both strongly, but the fact of the matter is that staying present, the only thing you have control of, right this very moment, you have control. It's all you've got control of. Not the past, not the future, but this moment. You will find happiness, and you will find happiness because of the fact that you've let go. You've released the need to feel guilt or feel regret. And you resist the need to worry about what's coming. There's no need. You can't control it. What you can control is this minute and how you respond in this moment. That's what your kids will remember. When you lived in the moment, that's what they're going to remember. That's what, no matter how old they are, even as adults, when they think back on their parents, or when they think back on, it doesn't have to be your children. It can be, the way your parents feel, or the way that, sisters, brothers, friends. They're gonna love those moments that you lived in the moment. When you lived in the moment, those are the things they're gonna remember, and those are the things they're going to think about fondly because you were there. You were there. You were present for them. You were there, right? That's what we have to focus on. That's my advice for today. Anyway, this has been episode 5 of my podcast, and I am going to sign off. I am, again, Lisa Tarves. You can find me at lisatarves.com. And of course, on social media. I do lots of appointments, hypnotherapy, and including NLP and EMDR. I do all of that in my Royersford location in Pennsylvania. And I just want to remind you, you don't have to figure all this out on your own. I'm here for you. Others are here for you. People around you are here for you. People that love you are here for you. You don't have to be on your own with anything. So as we're going out, remember that. And check me out on social media. And definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel. That makes me happy. I follow that every day. Anyway, again, Lisa Tarves, and I'll talk to you on the next episode.